Hello, good morning, everyone. How are you? Before I start my presentation, I'm going to have a request. I would like to see your kids' faces, your student faces, and of course, adult faces. Is it okay if you could just, let's say, disclose that? And I would like to see you guys and say hello. Hello, Gwyneth. Hello, Aiden. Hi, Noah. Mr. Michael, I see you. Michelle, Darlene, Captain, Amber, Hannah, Moises, Maximiliano, Sarah, Kelly, William, hi William, Nicole, Navjot, I hope I said your name correct, Trinity Arnold, Mr. Mark, Pedro, good morning, Lincoln, Crystal, how are you? Good to see you. Isha and Diego, Miss Cishinelli, that's a good one. I hope I said it right. Lucretia, Kathleen, Madison, good morning. Michelle, good morning. Jean, you, good morning. Tyler, Annalisa, Matthew, Eddie, Isabella, Alex, Adrian, Isabella, Jason, Lee, good morning. Natalie, Ava, I don't see you. May, Ashwin, Caleb, Shrika, Ms. Shimojyo, TV, Mr. Budai, good to see you. Mr. Mike Running, good morning. Amy Strout, Christopher, Melissa, Frank, Joseph, Aditi, and so on. The main reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to actually see who's in the room so I can direct my, my projection of the slides. As we're able to move into this new, let's say, process of the science fair, one of the major changes that we see here is that it's going digital, but it's kind of hard sometimes for me to send this out, right? It's hard for me to actually put something as a hardcover that needs to be translating my ideas into a form that people and teachers and judges can see it. So for that reason, under this specific scenario, we have changed the way in which this information is going to display and is going to be passed on to people that we want them to see our thoughts, which we call it pretty much a research, right? So, let me just move to the next one. Sorry. Somehow it's not moving to the next slide. There you go. Now, the digital notebook, it's going to have the same type of a platform that assimilates what we have in notebook. So I'm going to prepare and actually present this specific templates to you, and they're going to be available for you to use during this specific digital platform and this digital world. This is one of the formats that we tend to see a lot, where we have the both sides of the pages, and these both sides of the pages are able to actually gather different type of information. This specific format, it is addressing the claim, reason, and evidence that's supporting the NGSS as well, but the main goal is for you to actually present your ideas. First of all, what is this notebook? So when you look at a notebook, you know it's an artifact where you actually got in all your ideas. You're actually putting all these different perspectives of research. Like Dr. Gupta had mentioned, how did you start this experiment? Why did you start this? Why is it important to you? And why some of these resources are important for the benefit of the answers that you're looking for. Now, if there's specific, let's say, new discoveries that you have found, but contradict whatever you have studied before, this is a good specific point for your research. And that guides you a new light on actually a direction that you want to pursue. So it is an online artifact. Yes, now it is going to be online, where you're going to record all your information and you're going to keep it in a timely manner to actually show that the progression of your growth has actually inequality, the amount of information that you're putting on a specific instrument. In this particular scenario, your notebook, your digital research notebook. This digital notebook actually has a huge power on developing additional thoughts, your further conclusions, reflections, and then finally, new questions that might guide you to strengthen your research. That's extremely crucial. So the notebook that you have here, the digital notebook that you're going to be generating, it is going to be a tool for you to rethink sometimes certain segments of your experiment. Now, when you record something, one of the great gains of this is that, what did I do last week? Oh my gosh, I don't know what I did, but it went, wait, something went wrong with that experiment. But what was it? Having a specific artifact, such as this digital notebook, allows you to look back at what you have done, look at the specific segments and outcomes and results that you actually got from that specific sequence or from that experimentation, and then analyze, is this something that I can use? Now, you know you're not going to be able to get it done in one day. You know you're going to actually sometimes to think over, or sometimes you'll just feel frustrated and say, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm even doing this. That's when you look back at the specific pages in your notebook and you look at those specific initial sheets.
Okay, so you talk to the participants.
Why did you do what you did? And again, regain that motivation that continues in building your specific direction of conclusions. This is an example of that digital notebook. I'm using the template that I'm also going to facilitate for you guys, where you're able to record this. So when you're looking at this paradigm, wait a minute. Now I can put my pictures. Now I can put tables. Now I can put diagrams. And here on the bottom quadrant that you see, on the quadrant 3, you see also there's a strike through. So if there's specific, let's say, mistake that I made on a day, I can fix that. I will actually put a strike through, and next to it, I will put the correction for it. Why is that? Because I need to see exactly what were the changes, the challenges that I actually faced, then the new solutions that I got in order for me to continue and increase the progression of my project. So these discoveries are very crucial for me to understand exactly what are the steps that I took to develop my thought, to see if I was with the right track. And if I wasn't, that's even a good experience for me to understand that that wasn't the right data that I was looking for, or there was a calculation that actually I took the wrong turn to. So this notebook has these different pieces that make it very useful, and above all, it actually will take some time away from you trying to rethink, what did I do last week? So that is a key fact. We need time. Whenever you're doing a presentation, when you're doing a research, you already know you need time, and not having to fumble through different papers, not looking back at, do I remember? It is just such a big feature of a time-saving process for you to align not just your thoughts, your research, the data, and also to lead you into conclusions. So we looked at the digital research notebook. There's going to be scientific and engineering, and now, of course, we also have a math notebook and a computer science notebook. Oh, hold on for a second. Somehow it's not letting me progress. The types of experiments. We're going to look at qualitative experiments or quantitative experiments. Usually, the quantitative experiments are the most acceptable because qualitative, like we said, it is not something that we can replicate. Now, I want you to focus on this segment, okay? So when we look at the notebook, these are the different pieces, or let's say this is the skeleton of your notebook. You need to actually look at the different procedures. You need to look at the diagrams. You need to actually look at graphs that you're using for your analysis of the data that you have gathered. Like Mr. Hurton has said, if you're going to use just 2 plants, it's not a meaningful, let's say, sample size for you to make a conclusion. So the data that you're collecting has to be actually meaningful along the way. If you're actually drafting a model, take a picture of it. If you have an iPad, take a picture of it. If you have your cell phone, take a picture of it. And you can actually upload it and put it in the same format that I just showed you on the template before. Look at comparison charts. Look at photographs. Look the analysis and data that you are collecting and make a meaningful conversion into something that you can make a claim. Meaning, based on my analysis, based on the data that I have here, I truly believe that this is what's happening, or this is not happening. Both results are good results. Why is that? Because one or the other will lead you to further questions. Now, something important that Mr. Arnold had mentioned also was citation of all your resources. It's extremely important. Why is that? Because you don't want to fumble through different resources that sometimes might question the integrity of your whole project. So for that reason, look at the resources, and there's going to be a page that I'm also facilitating as part of the template in order for you to place those as part of your digital research notebook. So one of the last bullets that I have here, actually, one of the bullets at the bottom of it, research supporting initial question or problem. That's what Dr. Gupta talked about. Start your notebook understanding why you want to do this and include all the different references, resources, and citations of the specific, let's say, principles that led you, or these different articles that led you into the investigation of this specific problem or challenge. Once that you have all these different pieces, you'll be able to say, I know why I want to do this. I know what's important to me, what's important in today's world, and what are the conclusions that I was able to get from here. All this information that we talked about needs to be anchored somewhere. And where you're going to get this? In your digital notebook. And remember, this is a good artifact that you will be able to actually have as a reference whenever you're making your video. The way in which you're going to record your notebook. There are specific styles in it. Either you're going to narrate what's happening, you're going to be argumentative, trying to present the reason why your specific project is extremely valid and use the right analysis and data to produce the conclusions that you arrive to. Or you're going to inform based on what you have seen, based on the data that you have concluded, whether your claim actually is something that you can continue on pursuing. Now, what do we need to consider when you're looking at the digital research notebook? First of all, you do need a first page or title page, right? That is your identifier. So especially in this world where we are actually looking at digital documentation, each specific file needs to have your name to make sure that if for any reason glitches occur in technology, these files for any reason are not converted properly, and we receive a file, and this specific file of your digital notebook doesn't have your name and has the wrong information with the board, we don't know what, we don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that each of your notebooks have an identifier for it, okay? So number each of your pages of your digital notebook, and I'm going to actually forward that specific template for you to actually include in it. You're welcome to actually create your own format. However, this is something that I'm just going to present so you're able to save some time in it. Fill a table of contents, and the reason why you're going to fill out the table of contents is so you're able to sequence your thoughts, your resources, your data, and be able to actually put all this in a package that judges will be able to look, address, and follow your thoughts. The notebook, in simple words, is validating everything you have done for the information that you're actually placing in that specific digital board. This is where you're going to anchor your research, all your resources, you can hyperlink those, and any articles that you have actually used along the way. And of course, this whole package is going to lead into the conclusions of why am I doing this? And above all, what are the new findings and new questions that actually I have come up from this experimentation? I think this is a specific statement that is crucial for any kind of environment. There is something that we're going to address as the notebook habits. A notebook habit means that you have to consistently follow this structure for your thoughts to be progressing along the way the information that you're placing in this digital document. The fact is that it actually works on this notebook as well. Actually, you can see that one, but on a hardcover notebook. So those specific habits are very important. However, because our world is a little bit different in the way we are recording this information. Should you be recording this in a digital format, such as a Google slide, then remember to actually save that information. And something crucial, whether it's going to be in a hardcover or whether it's going to be on a digital form, we need to date those entries. So how are we going to date those entries? So digitally speaking, the best way to do it is as you're able to actually use that Google, let's say, presentation or Google slide, you're going to download it. Once that you download that, you're going to open up the file and you're going to say that as the date, the name of the specific file, or let's say the science experiment, and the day of your experimentation. You know, once that you do that as a save file in a PDF form, it actually stores it with the date. And that's something that we can actually use in order for us to see the progression of our entries and the progression of the experiments. So here I have 4 bullets that just talks about that. Now, yes, it is important for you to actually include models, sketches, diagrams, pictures. Why is that? Especially now, we need to see how you're able to actually build a specific structure, or let's say, what are the different pieces that you were able to manipulate under these pandemic scenarios in order for you to have a reliable, let's say, experiment process. So take a picture of these different segments, take a picture of these sketches, and of course, if you want to spend a little more time on creating that beautiful design, you're welcome to do that. But there's not a major need unless you're actually trying to capture a thought that you can actually anchor into your notebook. Remember, all those different sketches, sometimes you may not need that 3D CAD or anything professional. What you need is to actually harness the power of your thoughts. When you put it on paper, you take a picture of it and you store it in your digital notebook. Why is that? Because that might be the key that actually develops into the conclusion of your science project. All the data tables and charts. As you gather data tables, you're able to use Google Slides, Google spreadsheets, actually. You can use Excel. You can use Google Sheets in order for you to actually input all this information. Then you can actually capture that paste into your Google slide and actually put the different graphs along the way. It's extremely important. Here at the bottom part, I'm just going to try to move around. And it says, remember to label each table, graph, and the legends. That includes units, extremely important. So at the bottom of your graphs, whether it's going to be your X or Y axis, you actually have to put the labels in it. Don't forget to do that. Many times, these specific notebooks have, let's say, as a judge, we don't know what kind of units you're using. And we don't know the validity of these specific segments based on just looking at the graph. The key points and the legends on your graph are extremely crucial to understand what information you're trying to actually say without actually you being there. Remember that. A graph is actually communicating a lot of information, a lot of your work, but they're saying it in a way in which you cannot actually speak. Something of the no-nos, I would like to call this, hold on for a sec. I would like to call this some modifications that you need to change. Anytime that you actually have any information that is not, let's say, accurate, you can use a font and put a strike through it. So, and right next to the strike through or highlight the strike through segment, and you're able to actually use a comment bar for your reference. Because sometimes these comments are going to be, again, the key factors for you to find a better conclusion or better, let's say, protocol for your science project, a better direction for it. Something interesting here is that please cover all human participants and student faces from your notebook. Yeah. Instead of calling it dancing in the notebook, I think something extremely crucial that comes from this elaborate piece of artifact is that your conclusions and reflections are extremely strong when you have documentation that backed up your research. So you'll restate your problem, you'll utilize the data, and all the findings that either support or reject your different processes, procedures, and conclusions. And then you'll be able to see that there may be additional questions that you want to pursue, which would lead to the next step of what the judges might actually want to hear. The question that Dr. Gupta had stated says, where are you going from here after this project? What did you learn from here? So that is extremely important at the end of this project. Why is that? Because in this specific process, you should have seen an awakening of new ideas. These are the templates that I was talking about. So I'm providing this for your reference. You're going to have this specific structure that you can actually download and you can use as part of your notebook, let's say, inclusion of the artifacts. You're going to have this specific formats. Then you're going to have a specific page for the research and citations. Then you're going to have all the resources. And of course, I'm going to provide this specific 4 quadrant as well. And the reason for these quadrants is so you're able to actually write references, you're able to actually input specific sketches, pictures, and so on. You can duplicate this specific sheet as many times as you need to in order for you to create that document. Now remember, as you're using each one of these different sheets, you should be able to also save it continuously. You don't want to lose this work, especially because now it is digitally, and when you wipe out one of these specific files, you can lose a lot of information, right?
Henry, I have one question.
Yes.
Do you need your proof or notebook today? Because I don't have a digital copy yet.
I'm sorry again?
So the question is, do you need your proof or notebook today? Because I don't have a digital copy yet.
Well, the idea is that this specific notebook is something that you should be able to build in the next few months, in the next few weeks.